So, all right, guys, we got to get this one right. On three, we're going to say, welcome back to Extraordinary Thoughts for on their mind. 1, 2, 3.
Welcome back to Extraordinary Mind.
And we back.
That'll work right there.
Yeah.
And we back. And we
Yeah.
back. And we back. And we back. And we
Y'all did y'all best. And that's all that matters.
What's going on, everybody? It's that ordinary podcaster with the extraordinary thoughts that tells you to stop being great and be extraordinary. I'm your host, Demetrius Thigpen, also known as Meech Speaks, and welcome back to another episode of Extraordinary Thoughts for the Ordinary Mind. You know, returning after a break is always like the hardest. It's like getting the cobwebs off the gears. You know what I mean? Like trying to get your brain to flow in the way that it normally does. Honestly, for me right now, and I feel like everybody that, has probably experienced this before can probably attest to it, is that coming back after a break from podcasting is like, it's like returning back from a deployment. You know what I mean? Like you come home and your house is, it's the same way that you left it, you see what I'm saying? But it feels different. I haven't been here in a long time. I know everything's the same, and I know that I just need to get back into a routine. I just need to get back in the feel of things. But right now, I just feel like this isn't mine. And I feel like one of the biggest, and this is why I try not to take too long of a break, because isolation can be so addicting. You know what I mean? It can be so addicting. And what I mean by that is that, I stop doing something for X amount of time, I get used to not doing it. And, I really was trying to get myself back up. Like my first episode back, it's the first episode of the new year, get your shit together. Come on, Demetrius, get it together. Get a people that Meech Speaks energy. You know what I mean? Come out here and go ahead and talk your shit, King. But I don't feel like that though. I don't feel like that though. You know what I mean? I don't feel like that. And as I reflect, and I feel like that's something that I've been doing a lot of lately is reflection. Is a lot of reflection. And as I reflected, slowly, I started to distance myself from social media. Slowly, I started to distance myself from the podcast. And I just fell deeper and deeper into my own thoughts. To be honest with you, man, I'm not even about to hold you up. I've been going through it. I've been going through it. And it's the thing though, I don't know who needs to hear this, but when you going through it, you just gotta keep going through it. You feel me? I don't know, if anybody was ever wondering, oh man, what are you supposed to do when you're going through it? You gotta keep going. You gotta keep going through it. To really sum up what the situation is right now, for those who have ever driven to Vegas or driven across country or just driven somewhere for a little bit, I'm in a dead zone. You feel me? I was in a dead zone and I'm driving. The worst thing that I could do was stop. You feel me? The worst thing that I could do was stop, because if I stop right now, there's no gas stations, there's no food, there's no signal. I'm in a fucked up situation if I stop here. I have to keep going. And although it sucks to keep going, I still have to keep going. So that's really, if I had to sum it up a little bit, dealing with the transition, and I'm going to just be 100% honest with you. This transition beat my ass, for real, dude. This transition, it really challenged. This transition really challenged me. It really did. I didn't understand the dynamic of moving from California to Virginia. I didn't really understand how that dynamic was going to play. Going from one sunny location to a gloomy location. And it's not even just a gloom, dog. The people. You see what I'm saying? The people, the energy. Oh my God, dude. This is where it sucks to be like an empath. You feel me? Like this is where it really sucks to be an empath because you feel that energy. And that energy, it weighs on you a little bit. You know what I mean? Like you walk into a room, you walk around somebody, and you can just feel like their energy, and it just like pulls onto you. And it's just like, ugh, like fuck, man. Like, damn, I wish I can go back to California where the motherfuckers can't drive and they eat avocados on toast and shit like that. Like, damn, man. I really dropped the ball on that one. I really dropped the ball on the California, man. Like, you know, during my reflection, I realized, and there's a couple of y'all that's probably gonna laugh at this, I definitely dropped the ball on the California trip. Like, I definitely I shouldn't have talked all that shit. Shouldn't have. Definitely took California for granted. And I miss the people. I didn't realize, like, when you move, like, you know, I didn't realize how good I had it. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't realize, like, we, you know that saying, like, you know, the grass is greener on the other side. Like, I didn't realize that. You know, like, I miss the people. I miss the location, you know, and I think this is the first time I'm actually saying this shit out loud. You know, I think this is the first time I'm saying this shit out loud, and I'm not hiding behind some motivational tone. I'm just saying it. Like, I miss the people. And yeah, I'm going to get through it. Yeah, I'm going to get used to it. Yeah, I'm going to adapt in this place. But fuck, man, like the transition really wear it on me. And, you know, I'm not proud of how I acted towards it. And, you know, I told myself in this episode I would be transparent. I would be transparent. I said that I quit smoking. I said I quit smoking. And I relapsed. Obviously, I'm clean again, but I mean, fuck. The relapse, man. Like, damn. You know, I remember, you know, and I always hinted during this, and especially in the book and throughout the episodes about my father, like where I would say, you know, like, how could you choose a bottle over your kids? How can you get yourself together for your kids? How could you? And then I realized that that hate, that anger, it really came from a lack of understanding. Because the reality was, and it took me to have to relapse smoking. It took me to relapse smoking to realize how hard he probably was fighting. You know what I mean? Like, there was one moment where I was smoking a cigarette and I was sitting back and I was thinking to myself, like, thank God it's just cigarettes. Like I dropped down and I thank God, you feel me? Like, I didn't drop the cigarette, you feel me? Like, come on now, I relapsed, I didn't lose my mind. But I sat back and I said, thank God this ain't cigarettes. I mean, thank God it's just cigarettes. Thank God it ain't liquor. Thank God it ain't drugs. I'll be fucking dead. I'll be somewhere fucking dead. Because when you relapse, you relapse. And it gave me a certain level of understanding. You know what I mean? It gave me a certain level of understanding with my father. It also gave me a certain level of shame, man. And I think that was a lot of, you know, the purpose of the withdrawal. It was just a level of shame. You know, and I think the hard part right here, and this is the part right here that probably, like, everybody was always going back and forth and saying, and just bear with me, because I feel like I have a topic for today. I do. I'm clearing my soul. I feel like I got a lot to explain, so like I'm just going down the bullet points in my mind, really. And I feel like one of the hardest things when we talk about shame is that I was ashamed of myself. I was ashamed of me. And I rarely talk about self-shame. I rarely talk about it. I rarely talk about it. And I think the reason why I never talked about it because I didn't I never really felt it. Like there's never been a moment where I looked in the mirror and just was not happy with the person that I was looking at. You know, I was displeased at the actions I've displayed. You know, there's been a couple of times where I've looked in the mirror and was like, come on, Meech, man, like, you know better than that. But there's never been a moment where I just would avoid looking in the mirror. And that's when it got to that. I didn't want to look at that person. The quitter. The person that just relapsed. Your haircut's fucked. And I'm just gonna let you know right now, a lot of it had to do with the fact that like these motherfuckers out here in Virginia can't cut hair, bro. Like for real, for real. Like I finally found a good barber, but let me just tell you right now, you get a fucked up haircut every month. I mean, for every week, that should do something to your mental. That shit, I'll talk about that at a different time, but that should do something to your mental. Like I took for granted my barber out there. Like for real, for real. I didn't want to look in the mirror because I wasn't satisfied with my performance. I just wasn't happy with me. And to be honest with you, I didn't want to go on my own page because the thing is like that page, that page, you know, that's Meech Speaks. You feel me? And he's confident, you know, he's got his shit together. You know, he's on top of everything. He's exactly what I want to be. But the problem is that I'm that same person. But the thing is that I cannot get back to that person. So every time I look at that person, it's like looking at a different person. And I just didn't feel comfortable being there. To be honest with you, I felt like for a minute, it was as if I wasn't looking at a hollow husk of myself. It felt more like I was in an apartment that did not belong to me. It had all these extravagant things, but it was made for a person that can actually use it. I was wearing these clothes for a person that that's not made for me. So I had to leave. I had to leave. During my reflection, I read my book. I finally read my book, and for those who don't, it's not that I don't read my shit like for, you know, I wrote the book, you know, and this is, I'll talk about that in a minute, but I finally read a chapter out of the book, and the chapter that I read it was about when I sat down and I talked to Ruben Wow, and he's a Jean in Muay Thai, and I remember that conversation. Talking to a John Rubin was like, it was like talking to me. You know what I mean? Like I'm trying to describe like how it was when talking to him. But for those who have ever met him, you know that, you know, he's very straight to the point, you know, very confident, very, very like filled with so much wisdom, you know? And for me, it felt like as if I was talking, felt like as if I had just came back from like boot camp. It felt like as if I had just came back from college. I came back from a deployment. I'm sitting down and I'm talking to like my uncle, my father, you know what I mean? And I'm sharing the same life experiences that he's acquired, you know, that he's encountered. Like I have shit to talk to about. Like sitting down with him, it just clicked. And, you know, we would always joke because I'd be like, this seemed like the fucking Gemini, man. Like, this seemed like a commercial of Gemini because it felt like as if I was talking to me in the future. Like, based off of my trials and tribulations in life, that these are going to probably turn me into him. Like, if I continue down the path that I'm going down right now, that it's going to turn me into him. And I was so excited because I just wanted to gain so much information. And I remember talking to him and, you know, we talked about consistency. We talked about like just overcoming adversity. We talked about, you know, moving forward when shit just doesn't go your way. And I remember him saying, if you were winning, would you still quit? And if you read my book, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But that term, if you were winning, would you still quit? You know, if everything was working in your favor right now, would you still keep going? You know what I mean? Like you had the dream job that you always you've been trying to obtain for X amount of years. And the business is booming. Would you want to walk away from it? Or maybe it ain't even the job. Maybe it's, that summer body, because, it's a new year, New Year's resolutions and everything of that nature. I'm pretty sure that the gyms are packed or all the rogue equipment has been bought and your living room has now become your little personal station. You finally got your summer body, but you still keep working out. Maybe you finally found that person that makes you happy. That's a twin to your flame. Would you want to leave? And I'm pretty sure with every scenario that I just named off, the answer was no. And I remember when I wrote it, I sat back and I was just like, damn, like, it's so easy to say that. And it always goes back to this right here, is that we search for these perfect scenarios, but the reality is that the perfect scenario doesn't exist. We have to create something that we have to create that scenario for ourselves. Like, we'll never find it. We have to create it. And there's going to be trials, there's going to be tribulations and trials. There's going to be days where you don't like it. There's going to be moments where it's just like, yo, like, what the fuck are we doing? And I had to tell myself that. And I'm going to just be 100% with you, man. Like, it's so easy. It's so easy to sit back and force feed yourself that motivational shit. Like, if you've listened to me and you've been saying to yourself, like, yeah, like, I just need to hear him so I can continue to go. Like, that's not how this works. You see what I'm saying? Like during this time of reflection, I realized is that all that positivity shit, it does not mean anything if you are not prepared to continue to keep moving forward. Like, there's got to be a certain level of consistency when you talk about having this type of mindset, this type of overcoming this adversity, that when opposition hits you, it's this thing of getting back up after constantly getting punched in the face. See, a lot of people don't understand that. And it took me to have to go through this shit to realize that, yeah, it's okay to say, overcome your adversity, become that better version of yourself. But what you gonna do when life punches you in the face, but you still got 11 minutes on that fucking clock? You gotta keep going. You gotta keep going. I remember during that time, like, like the depression got the best of me. The anxiety got the best of me. And somebody was like, why don't you read your book? Why don't you listen to your podcast? And I couldn't put the words together, man. I couldn't put the words together. And then I remember I was having a conversation and they was able to say, like, if I was enough, I don't think I'd be here right now. And it took me to say that, like, if I was enough right now, I don't think I'd be here right now. Like, during this time of reflection, man, I'm like, fuck. It made me realize, it made me realize that it's so easy to make these changes in your best case scenarios. You know what I mean? Like, it was so easy for me to quit smoking cigarettes. It was so easy for me to quit smoking cigarettes because this is the thing, is that, like, when I quit, like, I mean, like, shit was actually kind of going good for me. You know what I mean? Like, shit was going good for me. Podcast was taking off. I'm starting to get gigs and shit like that. I was getting gigs. And I started to make, it's easy to make the best change when you're in your best environment. When you're in your best self, it's easy to make some positive changes. But the moment that shit don't go your way, we always talk about, like, rise to the occasion. But the thing is that you end up actually reverting back to your trainer. The shit that you used to do to get you through it. And I was so upset with myself. But the thing is that, like, I used to handle, I needed to get knocked down like this. I needed to be told, like, hey, like, this is the level that you're at. This is the level that we're at. This is where I need you to get to. This is what you're not performing at. If you were winning right now, would you still quit? And I'm glad that I came into this situation right now, more so in the middle of January than the beginning of January, because the beginning of January, we're chock full of, New Year's resolutions and shit like that. Right now, we're still trying to use those New Year's resolutions, but a couple of us have already started to bog down. So I'm going to ask you this question again. Like, if you were winning, would you still quit? You know what I mean? Like if you said right now, you probably in school If everything was going good and you still had time to if you had time to study, you were getting the grades that you wanted, and shit was going in the way that you want to, would you drop out? No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't. And I remember when I used to talk about that kid, those long nights, as he walked across the stage and hugged his family, he did not know that he was going to drop out. I remember talking about that. And the reality is this. If everything was going good, you wouldn't quit. But the at the end of that rainbow is that it's going to get good. It's going to get good. But just like what I mentioned earlier, you got to go through the shit. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's so easy to revert back to our comfort zones when shit doesn't go our way. But the reality is that you got to go through that dead zone in order to get to your next destination. We so quick to stop in the dead zone. You feel me? Like, I'm so quick to stop. I stopped in the dead zone. I needed a smoke break. We so quick to just sit back and we want to take it to the next level. We want to go to that level of excellence. But the thing is that you performing at mediocre. You were excellent. You were excellent in your level, in your town. But now that you have went to the city, you are finding out that you're not at that caliber. And that shit's frustrating. You finally have taken it to the next level. You've acquired that position that you have been wanting, and you are realizing that position is going to call for more energy. It's going to call for more mental space. It's going to call for more skill. It's going to call for more proficiency. But the thing is that you did not bring that with you. You have to acquire that. You got to experience that. And that shit weighs on you, and it's okay. Like, I just really want to just tell people that it's okay. It's okay to feel all of that. But what's not okay is for you to revert back to who you are. What's not okay is to be okay with failing. Let me rephrase. No. Be okay with failing. And I had to catch myself because I was so quick to say, like, failure is not an option. It's not okay to fail. It's not okay to fail. There's an L in failure. And you remember what I said? There's a lesson, right? We got to fail. If you, and I'll be the first one to say this right here. If you are moving to a higher echelon, you gonna fail. You got to fail. In fact, you should make it your business to fail. And when I say make it your business to fail, I don't mean wake up and self-sabotage yourself. Absolutely not. What I mean is that you give it 100%, but if you fail, you fail. Because there's a lesson that you have to acquire. There's experience that you have to acquire. Like, you take a look around and you're looking at everybody else and you trying to measure yourself to them, but you're leaving one key thing out of the equation. Experience. Time. We sit back and we talk about, like, these relationships, man. And I'm gonna just be 100% with you. Like, I feel like a lot of y'all never heard 21 Questions by fucking 50 Cent. Like, if I fell off tomorrow, would you still love me? Like, and the reason why I bring up that is because, like, if your relationship was perfect, would you want a divorce? If your relationship was going the way that it was supposed to, would you want to walk away from that? No, you wouldn't. But the thing is that y'all get into these relationships, and the moment that y'all get out of that fucking honeymoon stage, all of a sudden y'all start to realize that, oh, I don't love this person. No, it's not that. It's just that, no, you're not high off the fact that y'all fuck all the damn time. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's not that you don't love that person. It's just, this is the part now where y'all gonna have to fucking dig deep and really have to work on y'all issues. Grow with each other. That early stage in any relationship is always the best stage because y'all learning each other. Y'all exploring each other. The problem is that as soon as y'all hit one bump in the road, y'all want to separate. Problem is that y'all, we always sit back and talk about how like fucking relationships are 50-50, 100-100. But the thing is that a relationship is a union. It's a team. Sometimes there's going to be days where I just can't bring in my half. You might have to cover down on me, because that's really what a fucking team is. I don't need to depend on you in a manner of I want to suck your soul out. But at the same time, there's going to be days where I need you to help me. I'm coming in with 10 today because the world just been beating my ass. Can you cover down on me? But that's too much for a lot of people, and I get that. The reality is that if we were winning right now, would we still quit? You know what I mean? Quitting is easy. You know what? Let me rephrase. No. Quitting tends to change its weight. Given the right situation, it's light as a feather. It's easy as hell. And then depending on other situations, it weighs a ton and it's heavy as hell to move. It's hard as fuck to do. But I can assure you right now, the situation that you're currently in, you got to ask yourself. Because ain't no shame in walking away from something that's doing some harm to you. But you need to ask yourself, what scenario are you in? What environment are you in right now? Because are you too far to revert back? Are you okay with reverting back to who you are? Giving up the opportunity, the possibility to be that version of yourself that you were destined to be. And I just really want to just take a moment real quick. Is because, when we sit back and we pray to God and say things like, God, help me become this version of myself, help me become a better version of myself. God gonna answer that prayer. You feel me? He gonna answer that prayer. But the thing is that we get put into these situations where now, the punches are a little bit faster. The punches are a little bit harder. We're getting a little bit more demanded on us. And we start asking God, like, God, get me through this. No, this is what you asked for. Change your fucking mindset. Because it's not that you lack the ability, you lack the mindset for this. And this is what I had to tell myself during my reflection. That this shit suck. But you in a dead zone right now. You gonna keep going? You going through it, but you gonna keep going? If you were winning right now, would you still quit? If you was the one if you was the man, would you still want to walk away from this? If you was being praised again, would you still want to walk away from this? Gigs lining up back to back, would you still want to walk away from this? Podcast doing the thing that it's supposed to do. Would you still want to walk away from this? Family and friends love you the way they used to. Would you still want to walk away from this? When they talk about like pressure make diamonds, it also crumble coal. You gotta keep moving. Gotta keep moving. You gotta keep moving. And just like that, another extraordinary thought left this ordinary mind. I hope you enjoyed this episode half as much as I enjoyed making it. Stay tuned Mondays and Fridays. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Meech Speaks. Once again, that's Meech Speaks. Meech is spelled Meech. Don't forget to share this podcast, subscribe to this podcast, follow this podcast, pass this podcast to somebody, because this podcast was dedicated to helping everyone become a better version of themselves. Even though I don't know what that type of version is, I just know that you can be better. Lastly, don't forget to grab your copy of The Extraordinary Thought from the Ordinary Mind, available on Amazon, Barnes & Nobles. I think there's an electrical copy. You know what it is. Stay hungry, stay motivated. I'm out.